I'm here to spin some fairy tales from what we know about math and young children. As the science fairy, I work with young children doing hands-on activities, and part of it is teaching math. And now with my own 2-year-old, I'm recognizing some of the things about language in particular that just fuddles us up when it comes to math. A lot of parents have experienced this as being bad at math. They're not. So how do we clarify what we're talking about when we talk about math? We're going to do the first thing, or the zeroth thing, and start with the 0. If you're using counting by hands, close your fists, ask how many fingers are up. We'll get to that later. There's one finger up. Well, now there's none. None is an acceptable answer in language, but when we want to teach children math, we want to say 0. Start with 0. In Arabic, for example, the counting system, the tradition is to start with 0. Now this makes a lot more sense when you do move on to those higher level things. The 0 is a number, even though it is nothing. Abstract thinking is really critical in math and science, so encouraging kids to think abstractly is another key. Next up, let me count with you. Kids learn to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they're a little unsure, and then they mess it up and say 10. This is because every number has a single syllable, except for lucky number 7. 7 always trips kids up because it breaks the pattern and it moves the other numbers and makes it confusing. What I like to do to fix this 7 double syllable problem is like in hymns or songs where you say 7. We don't really pronounce the second syllable, kind of put that apostrophe and say 7. And if you toy with the language a little bit, you're going to get better concepts, and they'll have that one-to-one correspondence because it goes by the language. Here we go. 12 is my favorite number. It's the final number that children have to memorize, adults too. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and all school readiness and most of the education system is focused on that get to 10. 10 is a very difficult number. It's a place change. It's the end of your fingers, but 11 and 12 are just a little step further that help children understand what's greater than 100%. Very important in understanding the interest on the loan. 12 is the final memory. Go for 12. After that, it's another pattern. I call it the 310, the tongue twister. Now, probably earlier on in the language of English, the 10 and the teen sounded more alike. When you move from 3, 10, 13, 3, 10, and enunciate that first letter, that's going to get kids through the teen counting system and on to 20, which is ultimately the goal, because after that the pattern picks up. 4, 10, 5, 10, 6, 10, 17, 8, 10, 9, 10. Kind of mix it up a little bit there so that there is a pattern that then continues on at 20. Scary time trap. This is a parenting one. I realized I was talking to my daughter that we can do something in 45 minutes. And that's a number she's going to continually hear throughout her young life, but always in relation to something she can't do yet. And we use big numbers around children, and it kind of intimidates them. When really they don't need to know the number. They have no idea what 45 minutes is. So in a little while, in quite some time, use a generic language term instead of a math term. So that when they do encounter those numbers, it's because they're excited, they're learning, they're growing, and they're using all those pre-foundational skills to understand that 20, 30, 40, and 5 is that. The next part is, here's anyone can do. Here's something anyone can do when working with young children. Probably the second thing you hear from a new child you meet is, I am. And they put their fingers up because they've learned those fingers, and that means something. But it doesn't mean something. They need units and a condition. What's the condition? They're old. How much are they old? 3. How many measures is that? Years. They're not 36 months. They're 3 years. And to kind of push this point for children, if they go like this, I'm like, oh, are you 4 giraffes? And they look at me confused. What are you? How many birthdays have you had? But how far apart are they? Oh, a year. You are 4 years old. Now, if you can master this and continue to help kids see the units and the condition, it gives more meaning to numbers because they can use to describe everything, not just that person. Also, a child is not the identity of 3, and I think we often mistake that. So if we give them the terms to define who they are themselves, it's a huge benefit. And now we're to the final spot of my circle. And that starts again at 7. Those were 7 fairy tales for you to work with young children doing math. And now we're going to go backwards. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 0, 1, 0. You can add that too as blast off. This is great when I play marbles with my daughter and we're going to drop the marbles down. We do a little countdown, and little countdowns like that help introduce the idea of subtraction, and then the next layer on subtraction is division, and then the next layer on that becomes calculus, and it all feeds on itself. So help kids know that yes, numbers go this way, but when you count them this way, you can also get meaningful information. Thank you for watching my 7 math fairy tales to help young children figure out math using language and little hacks that you're going to find super helpful, whether you're a parent, an educator, or just someone who gets the random I'm. This is the Science Fairy. I do activities with children that are STEM out of Tubs and Go Mobile, and I have a new book coming out, and it's going to be all those activities bunched together, including several hands-on math activities.